Hidden Gems of DFW is a video podcast to help marketing professionals as well as newbies learn the art of marketing and finding the treasures that help a small business grow. This podcast will be filled with gems and treasures in the DFW area from some of the best guests in the business. And even if you are not in the DFW area, these treasures will work for you. And now get ready for the Hidden Gems of DFW podcast with Kris O'Connor. Hello and welcome to Hidden Gems of DFW. I'm your host, Kris O'Connor, and I am so excited to have our guest on today. As a matter of fact, it'll be a little confusing for you because we both have the same name and we both spell it the same. So Sometimes we never know how to answer, but I met Kris probably over a year ago now. It's been a little bit, and we've done some work together. And I think that all the things that have been going on in our world in the last couple years, I think a lot of people struggle with this and suffer with this. And this is why I wanted to have Kris on today, because she is our expert on anxiety and how you can help yourself. And she's also putting on a webinar and class for you to learn from. So I am really excited to have Kris here today. Welcome, Kris.
Thank you. Thanks. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So what I want you to do to begin with is I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from. You know, do you have anxiety? I'm sure a lot of people ask you that question. And how do you deal with it? And just give us a little background on how you arrived where you are today.
Yeah. Okay. I think I understand anxiety so well because I've struggled with it my whole life. The good news I can say is that I have learned to manage it. And so when you learn to manage it, you get results differently, right? And we'll get into some of the things too. But apparently, I've had anxiety. My mother will tell you the day I was born. So I didn't really realize that I had anxiety. But it manifested itself. I can even remember certain things in grade school that would kind of get me anxious, especially more in high school. Anxiety is kind of interesting. It's quirky because it has so many characteristics to it. Can I just launch into some of this stuff too, by the way? Or
Sure, yeah, if you want
okay.
to. I mean, because just ramble on. Let's talk about it because I think it's a big subject and a big topic that we need to talk about and offer some suggestions of what people can do. So absolutely, let's jump in.
Yes. Okay. So it is one of those things that it is quirky. The distinction between whether I'm just feeling stress or anxiety. Sometimes we have to tease that out with people, but I think I always think of it like this umbrella thing, right? And underneath the umbrella, there's all these spokes under the umbrella. And anxiety, there's PTSD and there's generalized anxiety and there's performance anxiety and social anxiety. So there's all these different anxieties. And your anxiety may be very different than mine. You might have anxiety about something and I go, are you kidding me? What's the big deal about that? Just, move through it or get over it or whatever, which by the way, it's about the worst thing you can say to someone with anxiety is just get over it. But as I came to understand it, it was more so through the characteristics of anxiety, that perfectionism that a lot of people deal with, like it has to be done the right way, whatever that is. It's expectations. It's being competitive, within yourself. It's the physical feelings that you would feel. I had a lot of gut health issues when I think about it way back in my teenage years, and I can remember going to a specialist, being diagnosed with IBS stuff, which is very, very correlated with anxiety, folks that struggle with anxiety. And I can remember him saying that your stomach is responding to the stresses and to the anxieties that you have. And I can remember kind of poo-pooing that. So that was my teenage years. Got married as a teenager. Didn't think that was a stress, but maybe it was, but I don't think so. And then in my 20s, as I started going to college, I was a late bloomer and got married and had my kids first, and then decided to go to college. and just kind of got into this field of psychology. And as I started working with people, realizing that, my gosh, it sounds like they have a lot of the same things that I struggle with or deal with. And so out of a number of different things, kind of ended up in this anxiety field and dealing with people that experience anxiety and or depression. I always say that those two are each other's ugly cousin. Is a lot of times when you deal with anxiety, sometimes it feels like you deal with it so much that you swing back over here into depression, and then you hang around depression too much and you can get anxious about that because you've been depressed, so you swing back into anxiety. So sometimes it even takes me a hot moment in working with people to realize if they're dealing more with anxiety stuff or depression stuff. But I just make that point because sometimes it is hard to tease apart or to recognize what it is that you're dealing with. So as I went through college in my late 20s and in my 30s and got my master's degree and just started specializing more in anxiety, and that seems to be just kind of a niche that I'm comfortable with, and I think it's comfortable because I deal with it, and so I can relate to people in that regard too.
Absolutely. And I think that so often, we go into fields that are comfortable to us or relate to us somehow, or we've had an illness, a sickness, or whatever the case may be, or a product that didn't work right, but we can fix it, right? So
Yes.
I think that when you find what your calling is, your purpose, whatever it is, you found it. And,
Yeah.
working with you over this last year, I've learned a lot about anxiety, more than I ever thought I would learn about anxiety. And
Yeah.
there's probably times that I could pick out that, yeah, I felt that way at one point or another. It's not something that I'm pretty level headed, easygoing, laid back, but there are moments, we all have moments, right? Where,
Yes.
I mean, the rug gets pulled out from underneath you,
Yes.
and then you're laying flat on the concrete, face down, probably thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this mess? Oh my gosh. And then everything, like, the anxiety, the stress, the pressure, the everything just like rises up in you. And then sometimes it can cripple you. And I
Yes.
think that being in the last couple years with COVID and all of us being locked down, locked in, locked up, basically, has
Yeah.
created so much stress in our life. And maybe we all had visions and goals, and then all of a sudden the door got slammed in your face, and you're like,
Yeah.
what do I do
Yeah.
now? Right? What do I do now?
Well, in
So,
COVID, I think you're absolutely right. The COVID era, maybe someday we'll look back on it as that, right? Remember COVID? The COVID era really has brought out a lot of overthinking, right? Which creates anxiety, a lot of stressors. I'm getting a lot of people now that are dealing with the idea that I have to go back into work, and what does that mean? And so the last 2 years, the anxiety we have noticed has gone right through the roof with the stressors of stuff, along with just the minutia of life things that you deal with it. Like you say, a relationship going to hell in a handbasket, or you just got diagnosed with something yourself, or just dealing with stressors of being a parent, your car breaking down. I mean, just on and on and on. And then the bigger worldwide stuff too. Um, we have never experienced that, right? And so it's been a new kind of a stressor. And where a stress kind of turns into anxiety is when it tends to be more chronic, as we have seen in the last year or two. Maybe moving into year 3, I'm not sure. But so I think that's the difference too between a stressor and an anxiety. Is a stressor tends to peak and it's a situation or event, and then it gets over and you kind of go back to your regular life, where anxiety is more chronic and long term. And a lot of times we not only have the mental emotional symptoms going on, but we can have a lot of physical symptoms going on which sometimes can make us feel like we're going crazy at times, you know? So yeah, to your point about the last couple of years and how things have changed with that, yeah, anxiety has gone right through the roof with that too.
Absolutely. Well, we could keep talking, but we need to take a quick little break here. So when we come back, we're going to ask Kris a few questions on a couple, two, three different tips on how you can handle a situation, maybe handle some stress, handle some anxiety, what you can do. I'm excited to hear what her a couple tips are to help you make it through the anxiety. We'll see you in just a moment. Hey, are you using Google Business Profile for your business yet? Well, today is the day to start. Even if you already have a Google Business Profile and don't know what to do, well then join us for a Google Business Profile live masterclass coming to a computer near you. Kris O'Connor, Lenny Rowell, and Alicia Maples will teach you how to master your business profile to crush your competitors. Enroll now at gmptipsandtricks.club/masterclass. Let us help you dominate the competition. Welcome back, everybody, to Hidden Gems of DFW Video Podcast. I'm Kris O'Connor, your host, and we have a pretty cool guest today. And her name is Kris, of course, and she even spells it the same. But she has her own practice in Michigan, and she is all about anxiety and how to help yourself get through some anxiety attacks, stressful situations. And so now she's going to share 2 or 3 points or 2 or 3 tips. I'm not sure what she's got in her bag of goodies, but I'm excited to hear about them. So Kris, tell us what you think would be probably the most common tip to offer someone that is having a bad day or anxiety, or you tell me.
Okay. I think a few things come to mind. I think recognizing triggers is really, really important because I think there's this idea or this concept that people just go, I have anxiety. So they raise awareness, but then they don't take action after that. So raising awareness, and if you think about that for so many things in your life, you've raised awareness about how to have a good relationship, but maybe don't take action, or you raise awareness about how to lose weight, but you don't take action. And so the same thing can be about anxiety, is that I have anxiety and you just kind of sit there with it. So recognizing your triggers is really important. And I think kind of the key to it, right, is to, if you're going to learn to manage it or reduce anxiety, you have to kind of know what's causing anxiety. So recognizing your triggers. I think another one is that kind of going back to the physical symptoms that I say that us folks with anxiety can experience when you feel that is, I'm going to recommend right away is just to kind of get in touch with or to be aware of your breathing. A lot of times when you're going through something highly stressful and it's that fight or flight feeling, our breathing changes. And so you have to be aware if you're doing shallow breathing, which tends to be chest, you're breathing from your chest versus nice, deep belly breathing. And then in the moment is to do some self-talk. You have to remember, if you can identify your triggers, but then in the moment, also give yourself some self-talk like, yes, this feels really weird right now, but I've been through this before and I can work through it right now. Or it will just be a few more minutes and I can walk out of this situation. So your self-talk is going to be extremely critical with it. Third thing is it's always good to have a good support system, whether at work or home or just in life, when you are overly anxious or stressed about something, is to have this good support system. And then I guess the final thing I could say is a tip is to just have some good self-care. Are you getting enough sleep? We know that sleep is one of the most beneficial, restorative thing for our body and our brain. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating nutritionally on any given day? Are you moving your body? And I don't mean a 45-minute workout session, just to move our body. Anxiety is energy that you feel flowing from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet sometimes. And it's like you don't know what to do with that internal energy. And so movement is helpful too. So sleeping, eating right, moving your body, taking a bubble bath if you have to, reading a good book, all good self-care, all of those things are good tips.
So let's kind of review a little bit. When you talk about triggers, what are you talking about triggers? Like, I walk into a restaurant and I don't know, I don't know, what would be a
Yep.
trigger? Is that, walking into a restaurant and seeing it full, is that like anxiety for some people? Walking
For someone who
into,
struggles with social anxiety, that might be. It might be too overcrowded. It might be a toxic person at work. It might be visually too much traffic going down the road. Some people have a hard time getting on highways. I don't understand that. I like to go fast, so I don't understand that. They would rather take the back roads places. So it can be things like that, but it can also be the room is too hot and I get warm and then it triggers something in me. It can be the room is too cold. It can be the room is too bright, too dark. Triggers are different for everyone. That's why I say it's kind of the baseline for me is to recognize what those triggers are. It's when you think of a busy restaurant, kind of like to what you were alluding to, and it seems like there's always one cackling woman, over there that you hear
yeah.
her laughter, and the waitress is moving around and silverware clinking and maybe a music or TV going, and visually it's too much. So sometimes us folks that struggle with anxiety, just to turn things off visually can be extremely helpful too, until you can get in touch with that deep breathing, tell yourself you're going to enjoy a lovely meal and you'll be out of here in 20 minutes. It's kind of that self-soothing, like it's going to be okay, just work through this.
Right. And, focus. I mean, what you focus on is what's going to happen, right? So
Yes.
if you can thwart your focus, if that was the right word I used, I tried to use a big
Yeah,
word.
that's a big word. Yeah.
But if you change your focus and look at something that's more pleasing and that's more relaxing, or put it in your mind where you could shut your eyes for a moment and go on an island where it's peaceful, calm, and quiet, does that help people to?
Yes. Yes, visualization, but before, think about this, before you even get to visualization, you have to have the cognitive engaged, right? You have to have your thinking engaged. And so there's a way of learning how to do that. And I can help people with the coaching program too, but we can talk about that. But yes, visualizing is extremely helpful. That self-talk, that one of the tips that I gave you, you have to engage your thinking. In order for a behavior to change, cognitively, you have to engage it first. A behavior is never going to change unless you engage your thinking first. So when you're having those highly anxious moments, is to visualize yourself on the beach in Aruba, or the warmth of the sun, or to visualize yourself what it will look like in 20 minutes when I get out of here and feel better, safer, whatever.
Well, I think you have to learn, and I could be wrong, but I think you have to learn that, when these self doubts come in, like I'm not good enough, or I can't do that, or that's just ridiculous, or you have to realize when that thought starts to come into your mind that you say, okay, I'm not thinking that. That's not okay. We're going to go
Yes.
this way. And I think that's probably what you teach people how to do, right? Because you
Yes.
want to catch that moment that you start sabotaging yourself and
Beautiful. Yes.
setting yourself up for failure, that you catch that moment and change that story in your head.
Yes, and I will give you an example of that too. Yesterday was working with someone who your words are so important, they're so critical, and I'm such a big believer in to keep projecting what you want, project where you want to go, because you'll have a tendency to go after it. And as I was leaving a client, she was saying something about the crappy weather and how it just gets her down. And I said to her, and finish that sentence. And she kind of looked at me and I said, the crappy weather and how it's getting you down. And she was kind of muddling through, and this will pass and I'll still get a lot of things done. As if she were questioning it with me. And I said, yeah, so it's okay to start your sentence out with that, but you're right, to capture what you want, make sure you verbally bring that into your thinking, right? So you're not sabotaging yourself and going, it's a crappy day and I'm not going to get anything done. Change your thinking, you change your behavior. And typically it will be more positive. Watch what you say. You're absolutely right. So you don't sabotage yourself or overthink something to death about something that's not going to happen anyway.
Well, and I think a lot of business owners probably do that. They overthink a lot of different things, and that's why they paralyze themselves not to be successful, or paralyze themselves not to advance in their career, right? Or advance in their
Yes.
business, because everything, you alluded to it at the very beginning, has to be perfect, right? Well,
Yeah.
there is no perfection in this world, right? You have to just jump in and make one step after another and keep going on that path. That doesn't mean that you can't consult somebody and get better information, or, sidestep some of the bad stuff, but there is no perfectionism. And I think that when you finally realize that, because when I was younger, everything had to be perfect, everything had to be in its spot, everything, it was all about, I wanted you to like me. I wanted you
Yes.
to pat me on the back, and I needed your approval. I needed my mother's approval, my dad's approval, my brother's approval. I needed everybody's approval. Well, found out, actually, I knew, but listening to a lot of your videos, it's helped me realize that I have to be who's approving of me, nobody
Yeah.
else, right? And I think business
Yes.
owners, and I think people in general, whether you're in a corporate world or not, you're stressing because of those situations. Okay, so Kris talked about food and sleep and all those kind of good things. And I know that she's got something special she wants to share with us about gut health. So, Kris, tell us a
Yeah.
little more about what you had previously showed me.
Yes. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, kind of going back to my teenage years when that doctor so many decades ago, kind of diagnosed me with irritable bowel, and I can't eat dairy. I really do miss eating a burrito or piece of pizza. I really do miss that. I'll go on record as saying that. But just in the last several years, talking with a natural health doctor, and she just has been awakening me to how important gut health is. It's our second brain, as she always refers to it. And she recommended this book too, as I do too. It is packed full of just some great information. So I just wanted to mention that if you're struggling with anxiety and kind of this gut digestive stuff is something you can relate to, get this book. It's full of good information. So just wanted to mention that.
Oh, that's a great tip.
Yeah.
I love that tip, because I've been hearing that more in the news lately about, your gut health is so important, and how
Yes.
bad our guts are, and why we're so
Yes.
obese in this world, and the things that you're missing, that when I grew up, it was simple and easy, right? I mean, we could eat
Yes.
whatever we wanted to, but in today's world, because there's so much more processing, so many more chemicals, so much more of everything, that
Yeah.
if we eat the same way as I did back in the 70s, I would be a very large individual, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be there. So I try to go along with that health, and eat
Yeah.
healthier. And I agree with you. I do miss pizza too, and I've really tried to eliminate it. If I allow myself one piece 1 month, and
Oh,
and I really probably shouldn't even do that because honestly, I can tell when I've had that piece of pizza the next day. I feel
Yeah.
sluggish. I feel not a lot of energy. And
Yes.
so it's getting to the point where I don't even want to have it as much as I like it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
And then the other thing with someone who I've been dealing literally for decades, I'm old enough now, I can say that, with IBS issues. And it is one of the most frustrating things because I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know why it happens a lot of times. But IBS issues is all digestive issues. So now just think about that for the anxious person, right? We like to kind of know when things are going to happen. We like to know what to expect. So now if all of a sudden my stomach starts acting up, guess what happens? That creates tremendous anxiety. And so in working with my health doctor, and by the way, I used to poo-poo all this gluten-free stuff, well, guess what? I am gluten sensitive. And so that affects my gut health. And so you just have to see all this stuff that's correlated to anxiety. And if anything can help my anxiety and keep it low and manageable, I'm all about that. And so welcome to a healthy gut, healthy you. It's your second brain. So I hope that helps someone out there too.
oh, I bet it will. I bet it will. Well, we could keep talking about this, as you know, but next up, as you all know, is the treasure chest time. So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to share what Kris's treasure is. See you soon.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to My Anxiety Link, a place where you'll find a little education, a lot of support, and some humor thrown in there for good measure. My Anxiety Link offers a place for those that can struggle with anxiety and maybe at times anxiety and depression. Anxiety can be quirky and frustrating. We all experience anxiety from time to time. But when it gets to be a daily occurrence, when it affects your job, your relationships, your family, your own behaviors and thoughts, when it keeps you from doing what you do best or what you want to do in general, like live life, then maybe it's time to get a different kind of support. My name is Kris Henderson, and I've had the privilege of working with people for years and helping them to calm and manage their anxiety, and I can help you too. At My Anxiety Link, we have a coaching program for individuals who want more one-on-one coaching. And you can also sign up anytime for that. We also offer a coaching group program for parents that is offered many times throughout the year. Look for those upcoming dates on our website. You'll also find a free 5-day anxiety detox challenge that you can sign up for as well. I also have some interesting, informative blogs with a wide range of topics, so check those out too. And finally, you can connect with other supportive folks who struggle with stress, anxiety, and feelings of overwhelm in our private group called Anxiety Stress I'm a Mess on Facebook and on MeWe. Please reach out if you have any questions. I'd love to hear from you. And check us out on myanxietylink.com.
Welcome back, everybody. I am Kris O'Connor, your host of Hidden Gems of DFW, and we have a wonderful guest on today. She's got the same name as me, so of course she's wonderful, right?
Yeah.
Her name is Kris Henderson, and she's from Michigan, and she is all about anxiety. She coaches people, she helps people in her practice with anxiety. And I am so curious, what is your treasure today, Kris?
Well, my treasure happens to be a book that is full of wisdom, full of insight, full of inspiration. It happens to be called the Bible. And I pull a lot of, it's very foundational for me. My faith is, and it has helped me even with my anxiety. There are times, like all of us, where I really need some peace. I need my internal spirit, is what I always call that anxiety, that ugly anxiety that just surges, right? I need that internal spirit to settle down. And so my treasure is, this happens to be by Sarah Young, but it's, this isn't the Bible, but it's just a daily devotion that I use. It just kind of gets me connected. I happen to do it first thing in the morning. I have clients that do it other times of the day, or not a biblical thing at all, but just kind of a personal thing where they just kind of get cemented in for the day. I just happen to use that book because, like I said, it's full of wisdom and very inspirational to me, and use the daily devotional thing too. So that's my treasure.
I think that's awesome. I think everybody needs to have something that they do for themselves. And whether it be reading the Bible, whether it be writing in a journal, whether it be meditation, whether it be grateful, writing grateful, what you're grateful for, whatever that is, when you do that, I have found, I have just found that it works really well. So
Yes.
for the last 2 months, and I hate to say this on camera, but I'm going to say it. I'm a shiny penny person, right? Or a shiny object person. And I jump in with all feet, and then I do it for a little while and don't continue. And several years I've had a journal, and I start to write in it what I'm grateful for.
Yes.
And then I get busy and I don't get back to it. But I can
Yes.
honestly say that the last 2.5 months, every day I am writing, and I just simplified it for myself. 5 items that I am grateful for that day. And I want to tell you, it has changed my life.
Gratitude is an attitude, right? And I think that what you just said, beautiful words to that.
Yeah.
Gratitude is an attitude, and we project that then throughout our day. So, yeah.
And when you can be grateful for it, be grateful for your anxiety. I know that's a crazy thing to say. I really
Well, it
do.
teaches us something, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
And so it teaches how you can go through life, have that negative word, because a lot of people think it's a very negative word, but be able to overcome it or control it, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's what you've done for years, right, Kris?
Yes. Well, and I want to say that I use it in a positive way, that my anxious brain sometimes can motivate me to do something or to be creative with something, but it's a choice of how I want to look at it, right?
Yes.
So I try to find the strength or the positivity in anxiety, but it's something that I can learn from. And goodness, at my age, I've learned a lot about anxiety. So,
Well, and I think it all goes back to mindset, right? You can
yes,
say that anxiety is a negative, or you can say anxiety is a positive. So you can make it work for you, or you can make it work against of you.
yeah.
So what is
And
your choice?
I'm not afraid of it anymore, right? I don't need to be afraid of my anxiety and I just sit and spin. I learned to manage it. And when you learn to manage it, you kind of take the bull by the horns, right? And you
Right.
go, all right, I am feeling anxiety, but I don't have to stay in this state of mind.
Right.
That I have some tools that I can, the tips and stuff that I can work through it.
Yeah, because there's so much out there in this world that you should be experiencing and having fun with. We weren't
Yeah.
put on this earth to struggle by
Yeah.
any stretch of the imagination. We were
Yep.
put on this earth to enjoy life, have fun, care about each other, give to each other, offer help when help is needed unconditionally. And I
Yep.
think we get too caught up in the world and all the commercialness of it, and got to have this, and let's be like the Joneses, and just do you. Just
Yes.
do you.
Not one of us gets away from having a stress-free life. Not
No.
one of us gets away with that, but it's how we handle the stressors or the anxious moments in life that make or break us, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're kind of gearing down to the end, which is sad because I think this is a great topic to talk about. But I want to talk a little bit for a couple more minutes about, your coaching, the webinar that you have available, the class that you're producing, getting put
Okay.
together for people. So tell us a little more about your coaching and what you would do and how you do it.
Okay, yeah, the webinar is out right now, and that's about a 6-week program that people can join. You can also find me at myanxietylink.com. And I just think it's a nice, robust website. You'll find my coaching on there that you can get a hold of me. And I can help you with some anxiety or stresses in your life. It also has some great blogs on there, just good supportive blogs that are packed full of informational things that can help people too. So check me out on myanxietylink.com, and hopefully we can connect.
Absolutely. And you know, it's a great little site. Sometimes there's little tips and tricks that she puts in her blogs, and, you know, just to help you, and I wouldn't say pacify, but, you know, sometimes we get into these situations and we're not taught how to handle some of these things, you know,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
will create anxiety. So how do we handle some situations? And she's got some great blogs on there that helps us handle some of that stress, some of that anxiety, some of that social anxiety. I mean,
Yep.
there are a lot of labels for that. So
Yeah.
we are nearing the end, Kris, and I
Hey.
always like to ask this one last question. So we've been talking 30, 45 minutes, and while we're talking, there's always something that pops into your head that you would say, I wish I would have said that, or I wish I would have explained that. Do you have one of those?
I think what I'd like to leave people with is that, and I kind of said it earlier, that anxiety doesn't have to be scary. Anxiety can be very manageable. It's not something you have to struggle with the rest of your life. I always say I have anxiety, but anxiety doesn't have me, where years ago I think it did. So I think I just want to leave people with the idea or the concept that you can learn to be better within your anxiety.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I am so excited that you were here today, and
Me too.
very grateful that you came on to Hidden Gems of DFW, even though you're not here, but you're here
Yeah.
in my heart. And I thought it
Oh,
was just a
thanks.
really good topic that listeners and watchers needed to hear about, because I think everybody in life has experienced some type of anxiety, some type of stress. If you're a business owner, I promise you, you're going to experience stress. I know I did.
Yes.
And it's all really in how you handle it, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as we close, I want you to always remember that you are insanely valuable. And despite the labels of doubt that you have about yourself, and possibly created by outside people and experiences, that you can do so much more. I can help you grow your business. Connect with me by phone or email. Let's get you excited about your business again. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel today. See you next time. Thanks for watching and listening to Hidden Gems of DFW with Kris O'Connor. Don't forget to subscribe. Feel free to connect with me. I love hearing your successes.